All right. We back again. Back again. Um, so I'll be playing with the Chat GPT or whatever the equivalent is that you choose to use. I use the Brave AI thing. Same thing, essentially. But I'm just trying to get understanding because in the last video, I was trying to get understanding of how did the Hebrews or the Israelites, the 12 tribes or the tribes, after the destruction of Jerusalem and the Second Temple, where did these rabbinical Jews come from? How did they come into being? Because it's very difficult for me to believe that these people, in their garb and everything, and their attire and all, it's very hard for me to believe that they are the descendants of Judah. So I asked Mr. AI, Mr. Chat, what's up with this? So excuse the typos and the grammatical errors because it is what it is. But I'm just trying to get a better understanding of how rabbinical Judaism came to be based off of the destruction of the Second Temple and scattering of the tribes. You must understand that the area identified as the Holy Land in the Middle East doesn't match the biblical description of the Holy Land in the Hebrew Bible. It is hard for me to believe the modern Jews are descendants of Judah. Well, that's my question. So I was going to go into the destruction of the Second Temple as a catalyst. The destruction of the Second Temple, and I don't worry about all these dates and all because you get into Anatoly Flamenco. He talks about how they added time onto the history, onto the official timeline or the mainstream timeline. I believe it's the Scalagarian calendar. There's two calendars. There's like the calendar. I guess there's three calendars. But it was conflicting views on the two calendars. Check out UB News's video on it. I know Nine Spiral got a video on it. Pretty sure Mayo got a video on it. I know Mayo got a video on it. 432 Drop got a video on it. I'll check that out. But yeah, so I don't worry about the dates too much. So back to the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans was not merely the loss of a building, it was the collapse of an entire sacrificial cult. Okay. Sacrificial cult. Now, the implication, what they're trying to imply is that sacrificial means human sacrifice or cutting up goats and not chickens, but sacrificing that to the Most High. Now, that's different because you take of the first fruits and then you enjoy the rest of the cattle that you are sacrificing, or the deer or the game, the goat, whatever it is that you're sacrificing. It's the equivalent of a barbecue. But let me keep it going. Sacrificial cult that define Jewish. See, when they see, I always get caught up on the words because Jewish is an implication, the way that they're trying to redefine it, or I guess they're using Judah and redefining it as Jewish worship for centuries. This event created a religious vacuum that demanded an immediate and radical reimagining of Jewish life prior to that date. Judaism was highly sectarian, with groups like the Sadducees and Aeneas and Zealots holding conflicting views. However, most of these sects could not survive without the temple, as their identities were strictly linked to its rituals and the priesthood. The transition from priesthoods or rabbinite. In the wake of the temple's destruction, the priestly class, Kohanim, lost their primary function. As sacrifices could no longer be offered, rabbinical Judaism emerged as a transformative response, shifting the focus from sacrificial worship to Torah study, prayer, and ethical deeds. Okay, that sounds good on the face of it. This new form of Judaism was rooted in the belief in divine service could continue through mitzvah, commandments performed in daily life rather than solely through temple rituals. The rabbis taught that study and prayer were equivalent to sacrifice, allowing Judaism to survive without a central sanctuary. The role of Yavna and Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai. A pivotal moment in this transition was the establishment of an academy in Yavna by Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai. According to tradition, he negotiated with the Roman general Vespasian to spare Yavna, where he founded a center for Torah study. This move symbolized the shift from Jerusalem as the geographical center of Judaism to the portable center of the study hall. Yavna became the birthplace of rabbinical Judaism, where sages reinterpreted Jewish law to function without a temple, ensuring the continuity of Jewish identity in exile. You're just going to go back to where sages reinterpreted Jewish law to function without a temple. Okay. Pharisaic Judaism as the foundation. Rabbinic Judaism directly descends from the Pharisees, a Second Temple sect that emphasized the oral Torah along with the written Torah. Unlike the Sadducees, who rejected the oral law and focused exclusively on temple rites, the Pharisees believed that Moses received both written and oral instructions at Sinai. This dual tradition allowed for flexibility and adaptation, which proved crucial after 70 that date. The Pharisaic emphasis on interpretation, debate, and application of law became the core methodology of the rabbis, codified later in the Mishnah and Talmud. The scattering and adaptation of Jewish life. The scattering of the Jewish people diaspora following the Roman Wars, don't worry about the dates, accelerated the development of rabbinic Judaism, with Jews dispersed across the Roman Empire and beyond. The religion had to become portable and decentralized. The rabbis institutionalized practices that could be observed anywhere, such as Sabbath ordinance or observance, dietary laws, and communal prayer. The codification of the Babylonian Talmud by the 6th century CE solidified rabbinical Judaism as the normative form of Jewish life, capable of thriving in diverse cultural contexts without a homeland. The Babylonian Talmud. Okay. All right. Cool. Addressing your concerns about land and lineage. Your skepticism regarding the geographic match between the modern Holy Land and the biblical description, as well as the lineage of modern Jews, touches on complex historical and archaeological debates. Geographic boundaries. The biblical descriptions of the land of Israel vary across different books. Genesis, Numbers, Joshua, describing borders that fluctuated based on historical conquests and idealized visions. The modern state of Israel borders are the result of 20th century geopolitical events, not a direct implementation of biblical boundaries. Historically, Jewish presence in the region remained continuous in certain areas like Jerusalem, Tiberias, and Safed, even after the Roman exile through the demographic majority shifted over centuries, lineage, and genetics. The claim that modern Jews are not descendants of the ancient Israelites, sometimes associated with the Khazar hypothesis, is not supported by a mainstream historical or genetic consensus. Mainstream historic and genetic consensus. Multiple genetic studies indicate that Jewish populations, including Ashkenazi, Sephardi, and Mizrahi Jews, share significant common ancestry tracing back to the Middle East, consistent with origins in the ancient Israelite population, while conversions and admixture occurred throughout history. The core lineage remains linked to the ancient Levant. The survival of the Jewish identity through the diaspora was maintained by the rabbinical framework you asked about, which prioritized textual and legal continuity over geographic sovereignty. So my reply, hold on, let me take a drink. The Hebrew Bible says the sons of Jacob, tribes of Israel, will lose their identity and forget who they are. The modern Jew appears to know who they are and don't appear to be lost. Even though the new Jews really don't read from the Torah, they have their own books, which aren't Hebrew or from the Hebrew canon, and have an oral system rather than the written law of Torah. Again, it is hard for me to believe rabbinical Judaism and the modern Jew have any kind of connection to the sons of Jacob. This mainstream narrative doesn't match biblical prophecy for the sons of Jacob. Your concerns touch on specific biblical prophecies regarding the lost tribes, the nature of Jewish scripture, and the continuity of Jewish identity. Here is a breakdown based on historical records, genetic data, and Jewish theology. The prophecy of lost identity applies to the northern kingdom, not Judah. The biblical prophecy you reference regarding the lost tribes losing their identity specifically targets the northern kingdom of Israel, the 10 tribes, not the southern kingdom of Judah. The northern kingdom was conquered by the Assyrians, leading to exile and assimilation, where they indeed lost their identity, becoming the lost tribes. In contrast, the southern kingdom, comprising primarily of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, was exiled to Babylon but returned to the land after 70 years. Preservation of identity. Prophecy explicitly stated that Judah would not lose their identity. Jeremiah prophesies that while Israel north will be cast off, Judah will be preserved. Jeremiah 33:24-26. The modern Jewish people are primarily descendants of the southern kingdom who maintain their name, religion, and consciousness of who they were throughout history. The term Jew, Yehudi, literally means the tribe of Judah. Modern Jews do not read the Torah. The Talmud is an expansion, not a replacement. The assertion that modern Jews do not read the Torah or rely solely on their own books is factually incorrect regarding Jewish practice and theology. Centrality of the Torah. The written Torah, the 5 books of Moses, remains the absolute foundation of Jewish life. It is read publicly in synagogues on a weekly cycle, a practice uninterrupted for 2,500 years. Every Jewish ceremony, including the bar mitzvah, centers on reading directly from the Torah scroll, roll of the Talmud, or the Talmud. The other books you mentioned likely refer to the Talmud, containing the Mishnah and Gemara. Was that Gematria? Jews do not view this as a replacement for the Torah, but as the oral Torah. I ain't gonna read all this shit because okay, so the Jews were Judah, Benjamin, and Levi are the ancestors of the rabbinical Jews. you see how they're obfuscating or omitting the fact that the Holy Land or the modern Holy Land and in the Middle East doesn't reflect the Holy Land mentioned or described in the Hebrew Bible. It's a complete obfuscation of what was described in the Hebrew Bible. And I just asked a direct question. Where in the Hebrew Bible does the house of Judah become rabbinical? I need Hebrew from the Tanakh, Torah, Old Testament, Apocryphal, and pseudo-epigraphic, not Jewish interpretation or theology. Here we go. There is no verse in the Hebrew Bible, Tanakh, the Apocryphal, or the pseudo-epigraphia that states the house of Judah becomes rabbinical. That's all I need to know. I just need to know where the fuck these niggas come from and who gave them the authority to be doing what they doing, saying what they saying, behaving how they behaving, acting how they acting. Who gave them this authority? Because I know it ain't coming from the Torah, and they just completely omit the Tanakh. Do you keep the law but don't respect the law? You come up with your own system of governance, or you come up with your own religion? Because the Torah, that ain't no religion. The Tanakh, that ain't no religion. That's a bloodline of the sons of Jacob, sons of Abraham, sons of Noah. I mean, technically, every living man and woman is a son of Noah, descendant of Adam. So, but I'm just trying to get where you get the authority. So the Torah, the Tanakh, the Torah, prophets, writings. No mention of rabbis, meaning my master or teacher, appears in later Hebrew texts. So rabbi comes from their books, the Mishnah, the Talmud. They gave themselves authority, but they cannot connect themselves to Judah. The Tanakh describes leadership as priests, Levites, prophets, kings, elders. It does not describe a class of rabbis who replace the priests. No command for oral system. While the Tanakh commands Israel to obey God's statutes, it does not contain a verse commanding the creation of a separate binding oral law system equal to the written Torah. Verses often cited by later tradition, like Deuteronomy 17, 8, 11, regarding judges, refer to specific judicial rulings of the time, not a perpetual oral tradition called Rabbinic Judaism. Prophecy for Judah. The primary prophecy for Judah is Genesis 49:10, which states, "The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh comes." This speaks of royal authority and leadership, not a transition to a rabbinical scholarly class. The apocryphal and pseudepigraphia. Funny how they use these words, pigraphia, like funny. Historical context. These books, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, Sirach, Book of Enoch, Jubilees were written roughly, don't worry about these dates. They reflect a time of intense conflict over the priesthood and the temple. They mention groups like the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes, but do not describe rabbinical Judaism as a finalized system. No transition recorded. None of these texts predate or record the house of Judah transforming into a rabbinical entity. They generally look forward to the restoration of the temple and the priesthood, not its replacement by rabbis. Conclusion, based strictly on text. If you're looking for a verse that says the house of Judah will become rabbinical, it does not exist in the Hebrew Bible, Apocryphal, or pseudepigraphia. Rabbinical Judaism is a post-biblical development that emerged After the canon of the Hebrew Bible was effectively closed as a survival mechanism following, see, this is their interpretation. They came up with it as a survival mechanism following the destruction of the temple. The connection between the ancient house of Judah and modern Jews is based on historical continuity and lineage. This is what they saying. They saying they are the same people who remain faithful to the God of Israel. This is what they saying, not a specific biblical prophecy that they would adopt a rabbinical label or system. The system itself was a later historical adaptation, not a biblical mandated identity change. Again, it's hard for me to believe that the area in the Middle East is the area described in the Hebrew Bible. It doesn't match the description of the land. It doesn't represent the same boundaries and borders mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. The animals are different than what is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. The land doesn't have the same resources mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. Jerusalem is supposed to be desolate until the latter days, according to Scripture in the Hebrew Bible. There's people in Jerusalem quotation today. This doesn't match Scripture. It's hard for me to believe. Middle East of the location of the events from the Bible. The land doesn't match the biblical scriptures, and the people don't match the scriptures. See, they gonna come with some bullshit because I'm using Babylon's tools and resources, so they gonna, of course, hit me with the hijack because it's never going to address specifically the flaws in the Middle Eastern biblical model narrative. There's obvious flaws, but they rely on us, the people, not to read the Old Testament. They rely on our ignorance so they can go and present to us falsehoods. Let's go on. Your observations highlight significant differences between the biblical descriptions and the modern reality, but historical, archaeological, and textual evidence clarifies that these discrepancies are due to environmental changes over time, political borders, and interpretations of prophecy rather than the location being incorrect. Borders and boundaries, ideal versus political reality. So this is a bunch of slop that they're going to give we the people, to bring about their supposed man-made reality of the modern state of Israel. I'm just going to pick out a couple highlights. The mismatch you see in borders is accurate. The modern state of Israel does not encompass the full biblical boundaries. Of course it doesn't, because that ain't that place. Historical reality. So they're going to give me the historical reality. So even in biblical times, Israel only fully controlled these borders briefly during the reigns of David and Solomon. For most of its history, ancient Israel occupied they're going to say a smaller core territory similar to today's central region. See, they're applying the historical biblical geographic location to a false location. I forgot the phrase. What's that? A false equivalency. It's not even a false. Yeah, it's a definite false equivalency, but it's a deceptive false equivalency because one is real and the other isn't. That's why over there they got is it real instead of Yasharal. They got Jerusalem instead of, they got Jerusalem instead of Jerusalem. You see how this works? It's a play on words. It's total witchcraft. You get to the modern context. The modern state's borders are a result of 20th century wars, treaties, and UN resolutions. The modern state is creation of the UN and the Balfour Declaration and all that. So this is where the total bullshit is going to start. Animals and environment. extinction and human impact. So they're gonna give you the whole what's that, global warming and all that shit. They not saying it, but they saying it. Human activity, climate shifts over the last 3,000 years, not a different geographic location. Nigga, if it look different, it is different. If the wildlife and the vegetation ain't the same, it ain't the same. It's different. And y'all trying to see, we go to the land of milk and honey. Flowing land of milk and honey. This place isn't full of milk and honey. It's depleted. And they trying to give all this. See, you got to understand, our history, our modern history is fake and gay, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to equate the whole biblical, historical, geographical story in the Old Testament, in the Apocryphal, in the pseudo epigraphic books. They're trying to equate that entire story in that region into the Mediterranean area. That's what they're doing. So since they equated that entire region to just that little Mediterranean area, I wish I had that map. It's that map, that Greek map that was the supposed all humans knew at the time of the Bible. It's total bullshit. I ain't gonna keep looking at this because I'm gonna hit them. Because I said Jerusalem will be desolate until the latter days. And they gonna come up with their interpretation of desolate. Desolate is what the fuck it is. It means ain't gonna be people there. Ain't gonna be people there. You gonna get lizards and cactuses and all types of creeping little creatures, reptiles and things, snakes and things like that. But for the most part, it's gonna be what the Most High told his prophets it was gonna be. So now, need you to apply Occam's razor to what you sent, to what I sent you prior. The modern state of Israel is a direct contradiction of the Hebrew Bible. Only Hawah can restore Israel and the Holy Land, not man. I'm gonna cut it off after this. We gonna start to warm the milk. Time to go to bed. But applying Occam's razor. The principle that the simplest explanation with the fewest assumptions is usually correct leads to a stark conclusion regarding your point that God can only restore Israel. If we assume the premise that human effort cannot fulfill divine prophecy, the simplest explanation for the modern state of Israel is that it is exactly what it appears to be: a secular, political nation state founded by human beings, Zionists, in the 20th century, unrelated to biblical prophecy. Here's the application of Occam's razor to the conflicting views. The secular historical explanation. Simplest premise: the Bible promises a spiritual and miraculous restoration by God in the latter days. Observation: the modern state of Israel was founded in 1948 by secular humans, many of whom were atheists, through political lobbying, war, and immigration, without a general return to God or the Messiah. Now, the Messiah is not a New Testament idol. The Messiah is Hosea, what was it? Hosea 3:4? Hosea 4:5. In the latter days, the Israelites will go without priest. I'm freestyling here. Priest, ephod, sacrifice, teraphim, ephod, and then not in the latter days, for many years, so for many days, the Israelites will go without priest, sacrifice, teraphim, ephod, all that. And then in the latter days, they will seek Hawah, and David shall be their shepherd. Psalms, was it 2:7? David is the anointed son. I think it's Psalms 89. Hawah will raise David. Ezekiel, I believe, is 37, 38. David shall be their king. Not their king, because only Hawah is king. See, this is where you New Testament, you Flu Testament Christians, you got it fucked up talking about JC is king. A thorn, a crown of thorns ain't a diadem. It's not real. It's not legit. Got it out. Why this fits Occam's razor? It requires no complex theological gymnastics. It accepts the text literally. God must do it. Hawah must do it. In the history, literally, humans did this, concluding they are two different things. This aligns with the view of many ultra-orthodox. You ain't got to talk to me about them Jew niggas. You ain't got to talk to me about them Christian niggas. Does it align with Torah? The religious Zionist explanation, more complex premise. The Bible promises restoration, but prophecy often works through hidden divine processes involving human agents. Humans founded this state, but this was merely the first stage or the footsteps of the Messiah. See, they're trying to invoke something to happen. The human hand. What they're trying to invoke to happen is they're trying to invoke the New Testament prophecies, whatever that is. They're trying to forecast that into the mindsets of the masses and make them think that JC gonna pop from the sky and do some shit. That ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be Project Bluebeam if any of that happens. That ain't real. That ain't from the Most High. But what they're trying to say is they're trying to create this state with the purpose, or for the purpose of invoking not something that's actually real, but something that they are going to portray to the public as real. Is it real? Or is it Yasharah? Yasharah and is it real are two different things. But in the mind of the modern public at large, y'all think is it real is real, but it's the least from real, and I'm keeping it real, and that's the deal. And let me conclude, or let them conclude. The modern state is the beginning of the biblical restoration, according to them, even if it looks secular now. Why this violates Occam's razor, in your view? This theory requires adding an unseen layer of interpretation that a secular atheistic movement was actually divine. It assumes a hidden miracle where none is openly visible. If the Bible says God will restore, Hawah will restore, and humans restore it secularly, assuming this is God's work requires more assumptions than assuming it's not. The contradiction argument. Your assertion that the modern state is a direct contradiction follows the simplest logical path. Scripture says Jerusalem will be desolate until God restores it in the latter days with spiritual renewal, reality. Fake Jerusalem is populated by a secular government without that spiritual renewal. Simplest deduction. The prophecy has not yet happened. The current situation is a temporary political entity that may even be an obstacle to the true prophetic fulfillment, which still awaits divine intervention. Summary. If you strictly adhere to that, the Old Testament, to the text that the only God can restore Yasharah, and look at a state created by man. Occam Razor dictates the modern state of Israel is a political entity, not a prophetic kingdom. The biblical prophecy remains unfulfilled. The discrepancy you see is real. The land, borders, and people do not match the description because the actual prophetic event has not occurred yet. This view avoids the complexity of trying to label a secular modern democracy as the fulfillment of ancient miracle prophecies.
That we got, tell them to pull it up over there. You can come talk to me. All right, we're just talking. All right, and I did this on my phone. All right, Great White Throne, Mount Zion, an actual Mount Zion. I typed it in. Mount Zion in Utah. But you got your Isaac peak popping off. I knew Abraham was around here, all right? And so, we ain't no rookies over here, partner. Abraham's peak, all right? It's a Jacob's peak around the corner, all right? All right, we're just talking Micah 3, verse 10 through 12. Let's get it. Who build up Zion with bloodshed and Jerusalem with iniquity. Her heads judge for a bribe. Her priests teach for pay. And her prophets divine for money, Shalaki. And yet they lean on the Most High and say it's not the Most High among us. No harm can come upon us. Bullshit. Therefore, because of you, talking to your wicked ass ancestors, Yasharal, Zion shall be plowed like a field. Jerusalem shall become heaps of ruin.
Yo, can I just pause my boy Nye Spiral, but we got to get out of this mindset that everything that our parents did, our grandparents did, our family did is on the up and up. We got to get out of that shit. Like, we got to be real with ourselves and realize that a lot of our people been on some bullshit for a long fucking time. That's what Nine Spiral just said. Like, this ain't new. We Amos 3:2. Only of you, Yasharah, have I known from the families of the earth. And for you, I will punish, and only you will I punish for your iniquities. Boy, Most High ain't playing with us. He gotta chastise us. We gotta be we going through chastising, but unfortunately, we are too lost in our own delusions to understand that we being chastised, that we are cursed. As the Most High said, what's gonna happen? Go ahead.
Mountain of the temple, huh? Mountain of the temple.
All this.
All right, so what I'm doing here is just narrating. All right, I did this on my phone earlier. All right, Art in Hidden Canyon. Art in Hidden Canyon. All right, and so we know some of these mountains to be possibly buildings. All right, we've got the proof.
Got the proof.
Hold up. Go back. Oh, man. All right, y'all. We're just seeing what we got in our backyard. Mount Kennesaw. Kennesaw. All right. They changed your V's. They changed your W's into V's. All right. All right. So if you're dealing with these V's and these vowels and shit, and you're dealing in Masoretic, you're dealing in the hijack.
Oh, the rabbinical niggas.
We put our W's back, and that's why it's the most ancient name. All right. Kid you not, have a child and film it. When it comes out of mama's stomach, doctor spanks it. All right. What it's gonna do? Intake. All right. That's Ama. That's that feminine. All right. Look here, man. We got Mr. TCA and y'all, and we got Mount Zion Carmel.
Okay.
Mount Zion Carmel, huh?
Ah. Go into it.
Interesting. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 20 through 25. 22 to 25. So the men, Watah, remains healed to this day, according to the word of Elisha, which he spoke. Then he went up from there to Bethel. All right. Matter of fact, it's a Bethel in Judah. There were no J's. And as he was going up the road, guess what? Some youths came from the city and mocked him and said to him, "Go up, you bald head. Go up, you bald head." All right. They don't know who they fooling with. All right. Because keeping in mind, when Elijah left, he did what? That's that charge. All right. He left some prester. All right. That's that function. And so Elijah is able to do shit like this. So he turned around and looked at them and pronounced a curse on them in the name of the Most High. And what? 2? I gotta get there. Hold on. All right. Stop playing with me. 2 female bears came out of the woods.
The woods?
Now, I'm always joning Africa, right? Joning Georgia, is making fun of. Cali, they say clowning. Different parts say other things. And so, man, y'all ain't got no goddamn woods like that over there, man. Y'all don't. Jabbar, man, y'all ain't got no goddamn woods over there like that. Y'all got, I tell you what you do got. Y'all got some
fuck Jabbar. I don't even know who he is, but fuck
dirt. And that's why we feeding y'all.
Unless
just like we feed a whole bunch of other countries. Still, off Shem. So we're going to understand, all right, in a minute, when we get the second Baruch. All right, we're going to understand how special the Americas are.
Okay.
All right. North and South. One continent. Shem got the middle. All right, keep that in mind. All right, check. Let's go back to 2 Kings. Check this out. See that? I gotta get that punk ass laptop. Come on, man, y'all tripping. Gotta get that. Mount Carmel. See that? See that? All right, now everything's is national. All right, that's how they hide your land, hide shit on your land. We still probably got the stones still standing. All right, with the names of the 12 tribes. All right, to signify that they had crossed over. All right, the Red Sea. Come on now. I'm sorry, the yarding. The yarding.
They ain't got none of this in Israel.
Word to con drop.
Fake Egypt.
Millions. All right, plural. Now, this is by far one of my favorite spots to come to when I'm digging in Utah. All right, I'm always digging on it just to see what I see. If anything new will pop up, and occasionally they do. It's just adjusting the height. You know what I'm saying? We dealing with Google Earth. All right. West Temple. All right. Michael 3, 10 to 12. Mountain of the Temples, huh? But I like how this thing is kind of shaped like a heart, something like that. I just always thought that was interesting. Yeah, how far did I go back? All right, East Temple, right? You got, hold on. Nah, I can't do that. Hold on, fam. All right, man, I ain't gonna play this whole thing because it's long. I gotta keep it moving.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it moving too. Thanks for everything. So we gonna end it at this. Shout out to Aboriginal Truth, Fire Channel, Fire Channel, Fire Channel. Again, shout out to Nine Spiral. I'm gonna keep going back into these ox work because as you see, we coming with the facts, we coming with the receipts. We ain't playing around. It's time for the truth just to be self-evident. I'm tired of playing around in the dark. It's your boy D Davis. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. You know the deal. I'll be back with another one soon.